hill. I'll tell you, the caucus is just absolutely, Wayne, you can appreciate what they are like. They are over the moon with the job that Scott has done. And I can tell you, the credibility that he brings to that issue, when he stands up in the House of Commons to ask a question, everybody goes quiet. Because nobody wants to be at the end of one of his vectors where he's going after somebody for not taking care of retirees. And so I just can't say enough about the job you've been doing, and it's an important file for the caucus, and Scott has just done a fantastic job, and he's going to go on to do even more. I did want to say at the outset that my first involvement in the labor movement was back in the 70s, and I remember too many things I want to talk about today to you. One of the things that stands out from my time, and Wayne and I go back to that same era, back in the 70s. And I can remember at the time, the people telling me, well, you know, unions are okay, but they sort of had their day. They really aren't needed anymore. It was okay in the past. And that was in the 70s. Now we're almost 50 years later, and that same nonsense has been repeated every day of those bloody 50 years, and it's just as untrue today as it was then. In fact, the labor movement is needed now more than ever for all the reasons that Anthony has talked about. The challenges, the fights, they're that much greater. The opponents are that much stronger. A lot of the problem is convincing our own people what their best interest is. That hasn't changed. And so to the younger ones who are up and coming, don't listen to that nonsense. And also, don't do what we did. One of the biggest mistakes that generals learned in history was when they do war planning, they keep planning for the war they just had. The key for the younger, in my opinion, for the young generation of labor leaders is to look forward. Look forward as to how we're going to solve the issues that are there, because doing things over and over the same way we used to is not working. Unionization rates are dropping. We don't have the same influence. Again, Anthony did a good job of mentioning that. But it's all got to do with attitude. It's all got to do with numbers. I remember when I was the labor critic at Queen's Park, and I'd be speaking to rallies across the province, and many times I would end my speeches by reminding people that there's a hell of a lot more of us than there is of them. And there always will be. And there'll always be a need for the labor movement to bind together, to bring the strength, or actually the relative weakness of individuals together, to create strength. The other thing I want to say is about, especially as we celebrate 130 years. Now, if I can, just a little pet peeve. Scott Duvall just left the labor movement not long ago, went into politics, and everybody knows that he's here because of his background in the labor movement and his role as a labor leader. But because it happened to me 3.5 decades ago, everybody sort of forgets that I am from the labor movement, and so many people, when I get introduced, and they know they mean well, and they say, a very good friend of the labor movement. It's a dagger in my heart. I am not a friend of the labor movement. I am part of the labor movement. I am a product of the labor movement, and I am proud of that. So the last thing I want to leave with you is something I believe so sincerely in all of my DNA, and that is the tremendous debt that we here today owe when we think about 130 years of the labor movement. You know, I know Anthony can speak to this, I heard him, but it wasn't that long ago when even coming together like this was against the law. We need to remember that nobody gave working people a labor movement. Nobody gave them collective bargaining rights. Nobody gave them the right to unionize and have it protected by law. That right had to be taken. It was a fight. And sisters and brothers, we sometimes forget because of the way we are in our modern day. But it was not that long ago also, when working people not just put their job on the line, and in those days, if you were fired for union activity, good luck finding another job anywhere. Not only did they put the health and welfare of their own family on the line, there were people that died so that we could be here today. We just had Remembrance Day, paying our respects to those who fought to give us our democracy. Well, we need in the labor movement to give equal respect and time to those who came before. You know, it's tough to go out to a meeting when, you know, you got pressure, you need to be at home, and it's snowing out, it's not very nice, the car's not working all that great. Oh boy, the sacrifice it takes to be a labor activist. Compared to someone who has to decide whether they're prepared to put their life on the line by just going to a meeting. So to me, I have always taken so seriously the debt that we owe those that came before, but also the debt that we owe to those that are coming. Because the sacrifice that people made in the past, if we lose the modern day labor movement, then we have denied the people of the future the very rights that were handed to us. And so to me it's a double-edged, and I do use the term sword, hopefully verbal. Hasn't always been in the past. So to me we have a great debt to pay that'll never be fully paid to those that came before, that really knew what sacrifice was. But we equally owe it to those who are coming in the future. We do not have the right to let the rights that were fought for slip away or be taken away because we didn't have the courage in our time to be prepared to make whatever sacrifice necessary. So we hold, right now, all of us, in my opinion, that great debt. That debt of thanks and remembrance and respect for those who blazed the path and built the modern day labor movement and paid sometimes with their life. But we owe it to those who are coming in the future to make sure that we hand to them generationally the strong labor movement that was given to us, that hopefully we've built and made more secure in our time, and hand it off to that next generation so they can continue the struggle, because make no mistake about it, the struggle continues. The struggle continues. The struggle continues. Brother, thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words. Scotty and I, we're going to get this reworked. It needs to be changed, but Scotty and I want to present this just as a small token of our respect for the 130 years of the proud Hamilton labor movement. So if we can get you here like that, brother.
I'm sure we can get a...
There we go.
Brother Henry, you take a picture?